where her late grandmother, whom she called Nana, first saw her in a World Cup race. Mikaela Shiffrin coming into the huge crowd at the finish line, looking for the three-peat of Killington, and will get it. Plus, the record crowds have reveled and seen the greatest slalom skier ever atop the podium. This weekend, a familiar cast of challengers is out to change that, as the top alpine skiers in the world race against a picturesque New England backdrop. Welcome back to the hottest venue on the Women's World Cup circuit, the home-like Killington Cup, where even colder than normal temperatures can't lessen the enthusiasm of these record crowds at Killington. Nearly 20,000 yesterday. Another huge mass has gathered at the finish today to witness what looks like the latest crowning of the Queen of Killington, Mikaela Shiffrin, in the women's slalom. Hi everybody, I'm Dan Hicks back with Steve Perino, and Pino, you know as well as anybody there are few guarantees in ski racing, but when you're talking about Mikaela Shiffrin, especially in the slalom and here at Killington, this is as close to a guarantee as it gets.
I mean, Mikaela Shiffrin rarely falters. There are the rare opportunities where the course might be easy enough where other skiers get in there, but when it's tough on a hill like today, Shiffrin doesn't slip much, and for everyone else, they will find themselves chasing Mikaela Shiffrin until she makes a mistake.
All right, time for your Fidelity Green Line recap. So how has she been able to put together 3 straight wins here at Killington in the slalom?
Well, I mean, one of the ways she has dominated is she has that legendary final kick, and she's used it here in the final third of the course, where fatigue and course conditions, they may hamper others, but Mikaela's power and efficiency served to distance her from the rest of the field. You look at her in the last split where she lost 0.28 seconds last year with a safe and measured first half. But look at this. By the time she finishes, she's made it all back and some. That's 0.31 seconds gained in 12 turns. 12 turns makes up all that time. So while it's unlikely we're going to see Mikaela Shiffrin trailing at that final split, don't lose heart because she's got a quick back half for sure.
And we keep looking for challengers for Shiffrin, and the name that keeps coming up is Petra Vlhova of Slovakia, who is clearly the second best, but still a ways back.
She is, and it's impossible, even for Mikaela Shiffrin, to be perfect in slalom day in, day out. That said, Shiffrin has skied out. You got to go back 7 years to find a third time that she skied out of a slalom, which means she's unlikely to make a mistake. When it happens, that's when you have to pounce, but those are few and far between. Same story for Wendy Holdner of Switzerland. She's always right there, but needs for Mikaela Shiffrin to make a mistake to win. That's just the facts.
Well, Mikaela Shiffrin was her dominant self in the first of 2 runs, and here's how we called Shiffrin and some of the more notables, and we begin with her biggest rival, Vlhova. Here's Vlhova to lead things off, the first of 2 runs, trying to make the top 30, who will race in reverse order to decide it later on.
Now this course was set by a first-time course setter, and I was just about to tell you that there's not much complication up top. It's fairly direct, and yet Vlhova makes an early mistake, and that breeze just enough to whip up. I think the cloudiness is behind her, coming off her skis, so not obscuring her vision, but obviously a little bit more wind than we anticipated.
Light a little flatter today, especially for this GS, where Vlhova finished 6th yesterday in the GS. Second run really wasn't near as good as the first one when it looked like Vlhova had a good chance to get on the podium yesterday.
And I think just everyone having difficulty with how hard this snow is, and that's the difference between Vlhova a week ago in Levy and what I'm seeing right now. Lots of mistakes.
So Vlhova, for the first time here, 53.11. As Shiffrin will be on deck after Liesdahl goes next.
So course itself in the first 30 seconds, pretty simple. A lot of opportunity to generate speed. Yet I did not take in consideration the challenge of this surface. I figured she would have had that licked, but watching her ski in those early turns, she looked uncomfortable.
Vlhova with 5 slalom victories, 3 in the GS, 9 total World Cup victories, and that leads us up top to Kristen Liesdahl of Norway. 27th in the giant slalom, so faded after making the flip yesterday. And we mentioned yesterday also, it's been a slow start for Liesdahl to the season. Fell both in Solden and Levy to open up this 1920 campaign.
Slow start to the season, meteoric rise to the top group in the world. You go back a little over a year ago, ranked 52nd in the world in slalom. So Liesdahl, the caliber of skier that she is, not near what Vlhova has shown over the years, and yet somehow this run here, she's actually has a little bit more control than I saw from Vlhova. Vlhova, high speed, low speed, high speed, low speed. Liesdahl, consistent tempo.
That latest split 3/10 back and really falling off of Vlhova's pace. A second and a half back. Whoa, and just barely holds on.
And the surface here, super slick in spots, grippy in others.
So the slow start continues for Liesdahl of Norway. 2.5 seconds back. Lucky that she made it down the hill.
This kind of repaints the canvas because, you know, I looked at Vlhova's run and it didn't look like comfortable skiing, and Liesdahl, they're just underscoring the challenge of the snow conditions. And she had far more difficulty, particularly when it got steep at the bottom.
And the crowd anticipating another race here for Mikaela Shiffrin. Third in the GS yesterday from the 5th spot. Admitted she needed to be a little more aggressive in the first run yesterday in the giant slalom. So out she comes in her real specialty, the slalom.
Oh, I think that's in the back of her mind. Again, different discipline, but she essentially gave up a potential victory in the first 15 seconds of her opening run yesterday. And not going to do it again, it would appear.
Oh, yeah. Big lead already built up over Vlhova. 3/4 of a second.
And, oh, wow. It's tough visibility. You got a bit of a tailwind there, so it's blowing the snow in front of her, but it's not bothering her, but just so much quicker on and off the edge. This is a skier right now, very comfortable on the surface.
Shiffrin trying to build on a second lead. Lost a little bit of time there, but still more than a half second as Shiffrin comes down to the crowd, which calls her one of their own with her ties to Burke Academy, where she went to high school here in Vermont. Shiffrin down in the first run, more than a second lead over Vlhova. So she came back after losing some time in that second to last split.
We've gotten used to that, haven't we, Dan? That the last, it's somehow she sniffs the finish line in the last 15 seconds and will put on all kinds of time. But a second lead over Vlhova, and she got out of the gate quickly this time. 76/100ths of a second up at the first interval, where I thought Vlhova looked just a little out of sorts. And everyone's going to look a little out of sorts when you compare yourself to the greatest women's slalom skier of all time. And she was on form.
Shiffrin not only looking for the four-peat, but career slalom win number 42 and overall World Cup victory looking for number 62, which would tie her for 4th all time. So Shiffrin in good shape to accomplish yet another historic feat. As we go back up top and check in with Katharina Liensberger of Austria, cleared to ski in the slalom, Pino. In the opener, just a week before the race, because of an equipment issue, she was attempting to sign with another ski manufacturer, which did not make the Austrian National Federation too happy, but finally back in action.
You can almost reduce that to, you got to read the rules. You got to read the rules. And there's a real problem to that, because she, you know, she's on a ski that she hasn't been training on up until she finally signed that contract. I understand her slalom has been much better than her giant slalom, which was out of sorts yesterday. And, you know, we got to compare her to Shiffrin at this point. This is good skiing for Liensberger, which means right now 1.5 back of Shiffrin.
Liensberger 7th in the slalom opener, as the Austrians had a good start to the season. They had 5 in the top 15 in that slalom opener in Finland, and Liensberger comes to the line more than 2 seconds back.
Something tells me she's not going to be alone today coming across the line with these massive deficits. And the one thing, if you could just recall Shiffrin's run, just so quick on and off the edge, when it's boilerplate ice, you can see the striations of the water injection here. You lay that ski up on edge, and if you are questioning it, you just linger on the edge, and you multiply that over 50 turns, it's going to add up. Slow off the edge, slow to the finish.
Again, you've got the top-ranked skiers in the world here going off early. So with the closest to Shiffrin, Vlhova more than a second back, this is really going to be interesting to see if anybody can get inside that second as Anna Sven Larsson goes out. Silver at the most recent World Championships behind, you guessed it, Shiffrin.
And I think he was very disappointed not to be on the podium in the opening race in Levi, Finland. Did not ski to her potential. And fascinating, 13 seconds, Dan. She's almost a second back. And there's a lot of attack in her skiing, but watch the tails of the skis at the top of every turn, just sliding them out. When you slide them to an edge, you never get a solid purchase. It's a lot of work to ski like that, too. She's going to be tired when she hits this pitch.
And again, we're talking about one of the best slalom skiers in the world who finished 4th in the slalom standings last season. And Anna Sven Larsson is more than 2 seconds back.
Aggressive on the line, but boy, the skiing, not even close.
The Swede comes to the line, nearly 3 seconds. So let's see what Wendy Holdner can do here. Let's see if the Swiss coaches and their feeling is right.
You know, one thing we have seen over the years is that she won't be intimidated by these conditions, and that alone is such an asset when it's this hard. And she is always much closer to Shiffrin where it's flatter terrain than when it gets steep. So she needs to be this close because historically, the next 25 seconds has been the difference between her getting on the podium and winning.
It was a solid GS race yesterday for Holdner. Finished 8th and was really scrappy, especially in that second run to get into that top 10.
You know, she's just so athletic, so strong, but there is just no accounting for technical precision on a day like today and on this ice, and she's just a touch off.
And again, we mentioned the accolades of these skiers coming down trying to chase Shiffrin. Holdner was the silver medalist at the Olympics, and she is more than a second and a half back.
And she was close up top. Charging, again, that's where the course is simpler. That's where I expected the field to be much closer to Mikaela Shiffrin. She made a point, Shiffrin, of distancing the field up top. But then when it got steep, you could just see Holdner. She tends to get in a very low body position.
How do we solve the Mikaela Shiffrin puzzle? She was the 3rd skier down and served notice that I'm back again at Killington. And it looks like I'm a 4-peat winner. We'll see. The Homelight Killington Cup is brought to you by Homelight. Selling starts at homelight.com. And by Xfinity, proud partner of the U.S. Ski and Snowboard Team. Get the speed, coverage, and control you need with Xfinity X5. This is the aforementioned Christina Ackermann of Germany. Finished 16th in the opening race in Levi. You go back to 2010, she was a junior world slalom champion.
And again, going back to what the coach said, is after a while on the World Cup, if you don't win, you just create this glass ceiling of expectation. So there's no question that she had the talent to win. We saw it when she was young. But after, you know, trying to ski through the likes of Marlies Shield, who held the record of slaloms before Mikaela Shiffrin and then Mikaela Shiffrin, it's easy to believe I will never win. Once that trickles in, boy, it's hard to reverse the tides.
And Ackermann's now 29 years old and had a significant knee operation just a few years ago and really has continued to experience pain, cannot train as much of her teammates, but here comes Ackermann down. 9th skier down, more than 2.5 seconds back, into 5th.
We're going to have to start looking at their placing and not the time, because 5th for her, actually not bad. 2.67 seconds, that's a little painful. Again, it just, you can almost just, anyone at home can watch these skiers and how long they are on the edge to get from one turn to the next. If you see people moving quickly, they might be in the game.
Well, this is Katharina Gallhuber of Austria in the gate right now. And Pino, you were up top when the Olympics were shaken down in the second run, and you witnessed one of the big surprises of those Olympics when Gallhuber took bronze at the 2018 games in this event.
And the huge surprise, of course, with Mikaela Shiffrin being ill in the start with nerves, and so we get to understand what she's going through. But as an Austrian, Gallhuber, it's not like if you're Austrian, you don't grow up skiing under pressure. It comes with your birth certificate if you're going to be an alpine skier. And this is solid skiing. And she tends to rotate. If you watch how she contacts the gate, kind of reaches for it, you can get away with that on the flat. When it gets steep, that's going to be a different story.
So she took that bronze at the Olympics, but then tore the ACL in her right knee in early December of the 18-19 season and missed the entire 2019 World Championships.
She's just coming back, and that's good.
Gallhuber into the 5th position. She finished 7th in Killington a couple of years ago. So again, that big time deficit behind Shiffrin. Well, keep in mind that she's in 5th place.